So I've been traveling back and forth between offices for about a week now with my LUMINKEY60 Pro. And honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite go-to keyboards at the moment. I've been daily driving this and really liking it. So I figured, why not go back to the beginning, unbox it, take it apart, and then we'll discuss why I've been using it so much. So we've unboxed our LUMINKEY60 Pro to be met with another box. Or I guess case, rather. Now it is a really nice case, and the case has a lot of weight to it. Assuming the keyboard is supplying most of the weight, but let's go ahead and unzip it and see what we're met with. Opening it up, the first thing you see is, surprise surprise, the keyboard itself. Now the keyboard does come with a little bit of warning, and it comes in this plastic. So make sure you read that before you actually take out the keyboard. But we're going to ignore that for a second, and we're going to focus on our back flap here. Don't forget to look back here. This is where all your accessories are stored, like your quick start guide. A nice quick start guide to go over how the keyboard operates. There's also a nice USB-C cable that is coiled. You have your force brake pads and some extra screws. You also have your LUMINKEY branded keycap and switch puller. You have a LUMINKEY branded screwdriver and also a small Allen. That's what's in the back flap of your case. Moving back to the keyboard itself, let's go ahead and remove the straps and get the keyboard out of here. Now another thing I'd like to note is the actual case itself. It is a hard case, but actually taking out the keyboard, you're met with this like really felt microfibery feeling, and it really gives me confidence that there'll be no damage to the keyboard or anything that comes in contact with it, and I love that. But enough about the case, we're here for the keyboard. Now remember, I told you about the warning on the front of the keyboard. The reason why it's in this plastic is it tells you to visually inspect the keyboard before you remove it from the plastic. That way, if you do see a defect or a problem, you can let them know. So we visually inspected this one already, so we're going to go ahead and pull it out of the plastic. Now the first thing I'd like to note is the weight of this keyboard is insane. For a 60% at $145, I was not expecting it to be this heavy. And also, the meteor gray with the white on black is a huge hit for me. Flipping it over, we can see the culprit of some of that weight, which is the copper weight in the back. Now this is a CNC aluminum keyboard with the copper weight, so it's going to be heavy. Also, if we zoom in here, we can see some really cool fine details. That everything is under control, indicating you're in control with the keyboard. And then I also love the little branding here. The engraving LUMINKEY is such a beautiful touch. There's a hidden compartment for your USB storage, so that way you have your wireless dongle always with you. And this is magnetized, so I don't think you'll be losing it. It's pretty easy to get off as long as you use the bottom to lift it off instead of trying to lift it off from the top. But honestly, aesthetically, this is super pleasing. And then lastly, I would like to note that we do have rubber feet back here, one per corner. This will prevent the keyboard from sliding around your desk, but note it is a fixed typing angle, there is no adjustment. Now focusing back on the top, let's pull off a keycap and see what we're working with. These are die sub PVC keycaps. They are edge to edge colored. We don't see any chipping or discoloration, which is a nice touch. Our legends are nice and centered, they're clear. We have crisp edges. So all in all, these look pretty good. They're not really the greatest in the world because they do come pre-installed, but honestly, it's not a bad place to start. So let's go ahead and pull out of a switch and see what kind of switches we're working with. So these are the LUMINKEY Astral switches. They're a linear switch coming in at 45 grams. They have a PC top, a palm bottom, and a palm stem. They are a 5-pin switch, and honestly, they feel great. Like, I'm already a linear fan, but these, stock, wonderful. Alright, so we did our deep dive on our keycaps and our switches. Now let's go ahead and get our keycaps off and see what we're working with deeper in the keyboard. With our keycaps off, we can see that we have a PC plate, but there's an absence of mounting hardware. I don't see anything that holds this in. So I think the switches must bind the plate to the PCB. So let's go ahead and grab our keycap and switch puller and we'll go ahead and start pulling out our switches. Alright, with the switches out, we can for sure see that you can just lift it straight out. I kind of like this. The switches usually sit a little tighter in a plate mount like this, but honestly, it makes life so much easier, and I feel like the less screws I have to deal with, the better. Also, the less clips I have to deal with, the better. Also, we can see here we have some pour-on foam, so this will help the sound signature of the keyboard and the feel when typing. It provides that thockiness and creaminess, but also provides a nice typing experience. Next up, we can also see we have PET film and we have PE foam. So a lot of P's in our films and foams, film foams. Anyway, these are also a nice touch. These also help provide sound signatures as well as a better typing experience, allowing the switch not to clack so hard when it actually is engaged all the way down. But once you have all that out, we can now see we're to the PCB. And from here, you can also see that we're gasket mounted. Now, gasket mounted designs are one of my favorites. Being a person that likes a stiffer keyboard, gasket mounts don't have as much flex as all the other keyboards, especially without flex cuts. I really prefer that. You get nice absorption when you strike the keys, but it doesn't have so much flex that I feel like I'm putting my hands through the keyboard. So I really prefer that. We also noticed that this keyboard is set up for a bunch of different layouts, and that's kind of interesting. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and get this the rest of the way disassembled. Now there's two disassembly points. We have one behind our copper weight, and then we have the one that actually separates the top of the case. So for this, we want to grab our Allen key and just focus on separating the top of the case. So it's pretty simple. Use the Allen key, don't use the screwdriver, and then go around the edges all the way around and remove all the screws. It's super simple. I would also like to note that these weren't in here super tight, which is a wonderful touch, because usually they're in there with like the hand of God. But once you have them all out, you'll go ahead and carefully flip it back over, and the top case will simply come right off. So with your top of your case off, you can go ahead and set that aside, and we can go back to the PCB itself. Now, I do want to warn you, the PCB is held in by ribbon cable, so make sure you take this part slow. The best course of action is to lift straight up just a little bit, and then you want to flip away from you. Flip towards the back, going over the back edge will allow enough room for the ribbon to be removed. If you do this too fast or too long, you risk pulling it out. So, all you do is remember to lift and flip away from you. The clasp that holds the ribbon in is simply a lift clasp, so all you need to do is lift the little tab and the ribbon cable will come right out. With our PCB out, you can also see that the gasket mounts came with it, which are the little dumbbells around the edges. Make sure you don't lose those. There's also this switch foam, which is also a nice touch, which gives you a better typing experience and sound profile. And then lastly, we just have our bare PCB. Now, like I hinted before, this PCB offers a ton of layout options, including split caps, split left shift, 625 spacebar layout. You have split right shift, full right shift. You have split backspace and ISO, which is a crazy amount of options for 60%. And it's a really nice touch for a keyboard that comes in at $145. This is really cool to me, especially being a person that likes to switch up keyboards quite a bit and their layouts quite a bit, depending on the use case scenario. Now, the last thing I'd like to mention is the fact that it looks great. I know that really doesn't determine the performance of it, but nonetheless, we do love a great looking PCB. Lastly, at the bottom here, we have an anti-static pad, which you want to keep in. You don't want your PCB actually making contact with the metal. Now, to get to the batteries and the daughter board, this is where you'll flip it back over and remove your copper weight. You'll first start by removing your feet. We'll grab our screwdriver this time instead of the Allen key, and we'll just simply take off the two screws on the back. Now, these screws are really easy to get out. Again, they're not put in with the hand of God, which I can't stop saying is a nice touch. I wish more companies would stop putting things in so tight that you feel like you need a drill to get them out. Nonetheless, once you have them out, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the dongle. And I do this because A, I don't want anything to get damaged, but B, it also allows a nice place to pry up the copper plate. Once you do that, you can see, surprise, surprise, your copper weight is out and it's very heavy. So don't drop this, especially on a toe. You could probably injure yourself. Once it's out, you'll have access to your batteries and your daughter board. It's got 4400 milliamp total hour battery, and they're not adhesive in. I honestly like this. If I ever need to access this panel to get a battery out because of damage or because one went bad or anything like that, it's really easy. I do not like when they're glued in or adhesive in. I know, personal preference, but for me, that's kind of a win. So that wraps up our disassembly portion. Now let's go ahead and speed run everything back together and hear what it sounds like. But actually, in a couple of different ways. First things first, I want to hear what it sounds like completely stock, with the linears, with stock foam. But then I also want to hear what it sounds like without the foam. And then I also want to switch over to a tactile switch and see if there's any notable sound differences. I'm expecting there'll be some, but I want to see how much. So, the LUMINKEY60 Pro. Now that we've heard it and we've seen it, let's go ahead and talk about why it's my current daily driver. Now, I edit on a Mac and I game on a PC. With the build quality being so solid, I'm confident in packing it up and taking it to the studio to edit, and I don't have to worry about it getting damaged on the way. Also, transitioning from Mac to PC, it just seamlessly works. There's no issues at all. I plug it on a PC and I use it wirelessly for Mac, and it just works. For it being a tool that I use every day, that's what I need in my life. So huge shout out to LuminKeys for sending it over. I absolutely love it. And if you love this video, please drop a like and hit subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And if you want to check out the keyboard for yourself, it'll be linked in the description box below. And that's it, the end. And as always, thank you for watching and keep keyboarding.